Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Star Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin,
And I'm Josh.
and we have episode 7 of Andor to break down. And we have Tales of the Jedi coming out next week. The runtimes have been revealed, and the episode titles have been revealed.
Ooh.
Before we get into that, let's dive into episode 7. Josh, take it away.
All right. So, the best thing I like to start out with is what would you think? What would you rate this episode? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
Okay. So, through all the episodes that have come out so far, I think 4, 6, and 7 are the best ones. 1, 2, 3, and 5 are just way too slow. Just way too slow. I was talking about it at with a couple of people today, about like how if episode 1, 2, and 3 did not come all out at the same time, the show probably would have got a lot of backlash because of how slow the show did. Because could you imagine I'm watching episode 1 and then being like, okay, that's it, and then you have to wait a week for episode 2 and then episode 3 because the like story for that was so slow. I don't think I would have really like. It would have taken me a lot longer to get into the series if they dropped those first 3 episodes at once because it was so slow. Episode 4 was great. Episode 5, more plot building. I understand, but it was slow. And then you drop into episode 6, which was phenomenal. This episode was great. There was a lot of cameos. There were not a lot of cameos, but like a really cool cameo. And there was more of those Star Wars elements in there. So I think the show is now that we have most of the plot built up, we have the rest of the show to kind of fill in more of the plot and more excitement, because those first couple episodes were really, really slow for me. So I like the way that the show is going right now, of the pace that it's going at.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me because I think stemming from the issues that a lot of people have with its pacing wise is that if it was all released at once, I feel like people would be happier with the series and its pacing wise because they could just binge all the episodes and see what happens next. However, I'm glad they didn't do that, because if you did that, I feel like there's no anticipation and we don't get to weekly do these kind of little videos and podcasts. So I feel like it loses a lot in the sense of, hey, I feel like if we go and we rewatch like the whole series in its entirety, just back to back of the episodes, I think more people would be fine with the entire show, which for me, that makes me say like, hey, look, even if I feel like this episode is slow, and even if I feel like if I want more from the show, it's like, that's a good thing. And this development is going to go somewhere. So it's hard for me because I'm like, yeah, if this was just like episode 1, I'd be like, I'm intrigued, but I want to have more. I'm intrigued, I want to have more, and then we'll get all the way up to like episode 6, and then I would be like, oh wow, that was a really good payoff. But I know that it would end up dropping off a lot of people along the way.
So it is slowly getting to that point where the show is getting more involved and more and the stakes are rising and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to see the next couple episodes. We still haven't seen Saw Gerrera, and I think I might know where like the show is going now. Again, spoilers for if you haven't seen episode 7 of Andor, but with Cassian going to where he's going to prison, it kind of because it's kind of funny if everything about it, because he didn't want to he didn't want to be part of the rebellion or that cause. He just wanted to do things on his own, and then he sees like exactly like of how the Empire was like, oh, we like saw you involved in this, but we honestly don't care what your story is. You are going to prison for 6 years. And he's just like, wait, what? And now he has a real reason, like more of a real reason than what happened to him when he was a kid. So it's just interesting that like no matter what happens to him, he's getting thrown into the chaos. and the more he fights it, the worse that it gets. And this was a prime example at the end, where he gets picked up by a security droid, gets pinned against the wall, which is also ironic because one of his best friends later is a reprogrammed security droid. So I saw some people saying that might be K2SO, and I was like, no.
I mean, even if it was, like, there's no way you could tell.
No.
Doesn't K2SO have like a bump on his head?
Yeah.
That's how you like tell him apart from the other one. I'm almost for sure he has like it's on the back of his head. Maybe not. But yeah, it was great seeing I don't care for what the unit's called, but it was great seeing that in this episode. It was kind of funny seeing the beach at the end. I really want to know where it was filmed because it looks like a beach in Australia.
That
whole
was a chill planet, bro. Yeah.
The whole scene at the end was pretty funny in my opinion. Anyway, we should break it down. So to begin the episode, we end up having the character still be talking to his mother. We're talking I forget his name, but they're talking to each other.
It's pronounced Cyril or Cyril.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just funny because it's the show's very relatable because he's like, he like failed at his first job, and then his mom's like, kind of helping bailing him out, and now we're actually seeing what an office a office workspace looks like in the Star Wars universe, which is kind of funny.
It's pretty funny because we get to see through his eyes the news report on the little TV, and they talk about what Andor was up to, and that whole mission that they went on, and it ends up being broadcasted on live TV. And I was like, that was pretty cool. It can reach basically everywhere.
Yeah. And that was also one of our first times where it's like an actual, like, it's not from the Republic side or the Rebel Alliance or the Empire side. It was just like a neutral news channel, which we've never seen before in the Star Wars universe as well. So I feel like there was a lot of groundbreaking stuff in this episode that we've never seen before introduced into the Star Wars universe until now. Because we never seen stuff like that before. We've never seen like a real office like type style situation and there as well, besides the ones that that we see in the Senate building. But I'm talking about just a simple like office, and not that a huge building of office chairs and everything is very normal, but that's probably the most normal that you get in the Star Wars universe. But how do you feel about his mom though? Because his mom just seems pushy, and
I mean, I don't know where that storyline is going. I really want to know. I feel like it has some payoff later, that he's related to someone interesting. For now, I like hearing what she says, but it's kind of like I want to see more and understand what this whole thing is first. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
Do you think there's a possibility that the person that he's related to is... Well, so I think they actually did say the guy's name. I could be wrong about that, but how interesting would it be if like the person they knew was Admiral Yularen? Because of having that kind of tie-in would be interesting.
That's what we were saying, that he was going to be related, and or his uncle or whoever knows someone who's extremely important in the Star Wars universe that's for the Empire.
Yeah.
And we thought that would be pretty interesting. I still think that's going to happen, where we're going to have a pop-up and it's going to be like, oh, okay, of course. But nothing like that has happened just yet.
No.
But yeah, then it cuts over to them having another Imperial meeting. And Admiral Yularen ends up showing up. He says hi.
Yep. Yeah. He just pops on the screen. He's like, "Hey, I was in Clone Wars in one episode in Star Wars Rebels. What's up?"
Me and Thrawn, we go way back.
Yeah. Which some people don't know, but his first appearance was actually in A New Hope. And then they brought him into Clone Wars and everything. He was voiced by Tom Kane in the Clone Wars. Tom Kane has voiced the he was the narrator, so every time the Clone Wars episode started, it would be like, "Oh, Galaxy Divided." It was that guy. And he also I love Tom Kane because he during the pandemic over at Disney, if you walked anywhere and you like heard someone to put on your mask, like if you were in the queue at Space Mountain or if you were in line for Smuggler's Run, it was his voice. He also did stuff for Happily Ever After, like for the fireworks show. That was his voice as well. So he's done a lot of stuff for Star Wars and everything. Almost a year back or so, he actually had a health issue, and he hasn't voiced anything in a long time. But it was sad to see him on screen of the character and not have him like it being Tom Kane's voice, because that voice is so iconic to that character. Just like how I think when Thrawn eventually does show up, if it's not the guy who voiced him, I'm going to be so thrown off, because it's already happened with Ahsoka. I was so expecting Ashley Eckstein to show up, and it was Rosario Dawson, and I was fine with that. But that voice, Ashley Eckstein did such a great job with Ahsoka, and it was really sad not to see her on screen.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's okay. I really like the scene of him coming in and literally just like, all right, nobody steals from the Empire. I want taxes. We're going to pay it all back with taxes. If anyone has any jail time currently, it's going to be reevaluated, which actually comes up in the end anyway. You see the repercussion of that. And you're seeing the Empire basically try and recover so much that they had to bring him in, which is pretty cool. I like his little speech of like his plan for the Empire in the future, how to fix all these issues.
Yep. So and the conversations later get really spicy, and you can definitely see that in that room, just all of the ISB agents are just cutthroat. Like they are going after each other's jobs, and it's so funny. Because what's the first thing that like you think of the Empire? Like, do you like see them like all situated working as a team, or do you see them as anyone will do anything for power?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if it's as pressed in the original trilogy as it is so much in our expanded universe and media. I thought that it was, because you'd see Tarkin like snap back at Vader in the original series. But that's about as close as you could get, because I was like, oh wow, you'd see like Imperials be like, oh well, I'm trying to make myself look better, I'm trying to make myself above you, and that would happen a lot. So that's what I really do like in these shows and series, that you get to see now of how much infighting there really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's funny. It's like a corporate world of everyone trying to win and gain power, but it's got the Empire over it. So I think it's pretty cool. Kind of shows how even the Empire is eating itself alive, which is pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. So I'm very curious of how more chaotic it will be, like throughout the show, because you can definitely see that they don't care. Like they honestly don't care like how they get their power, as long as they get it, and they'll take anyone down with them. But after that scene, we are back in Coruscant. In that scene we're in Coruscant anyways, but How do you feel about just seeing more of different areas of Coruscant that we've never seen before? We haven't seen the Jedi Temple in the background yet, which I'm waiting for that because in canon we actually haven't seen exactly what happened to the Jedi Temple. Like we've heard what happened, but we haven't seen, if they turn it into the Emperor's Palace or anything like that. So I'm really curious on how they'll deal with that. And they also name drop the Emperor as well.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that next scene from here is back at the his little shop with all the antiques.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Mon Mothma coming in, and they discuss even more. And he's still sitting at his radio, still listening to all the reports and everything. And they basically have a whole chat about how he's like, I need you to do more because we got results. Now we need your results. So I was like, that was pretty cool.
And them, his assistant. So something that I'm trying to figure out is if Mon Mothma knows that his assistant is involved, because they never made like direct contact. Like those two haven't made like direct contact, and every time that they talk, she ends up going in the back room or like she ends up stepping away. So I'm curious if they actually have any, if she knows that she knows, if that makes sense, because you never see them actually talking to each other or anything.
Yeah, it is interesting. They only kind of glare at each other from across the room. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then he basically just explains what this new hit force tactics are going to be as they attack the Empire. Because I don't know what Mon Mothma thought this was going to be, but I think it's all just coming to a head, and she's finally realizing, like, oh yeah, the rebels and the Rebel Alliance or whatever we have right now can actually do some damage, but she didn't believe it up until just recently. Because right now, all that she had up until this point was just basically like a little club of people who were like, we're gonna try and find a different way out of having to deal with the Empire all the time. We're sick of it. And then once something actually happens, it's kind of shocking to her. She's like, wow, we really did something, but I don't know how to feel about it. So I like that. That's a pretty cool element.
Yeah. No, oh man. Because something else as well is we are seeing like the real birth of the rebellion, and it's really interesting to see how people are reacting to this, because I believe her name is Agent Mira. She is like seeing like exactly of what these attacks are and the heist was, which is the birth of the rebellion. But everyone else is like, oh no, it's nothing. It's just a heist. And even though that Cassian was on that mission, he didn't even see it as that. He just, was like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, I like heard you of what you were saying, but I'm just seeing this as a heist. And it's going to be really interesting to see if there's going to be, because I believe there is going to be a time jump in the next episode. I think it's going to be a year jump. Which there's a lot that can happen in a year, and I'm really curious of what's going to happen during that time. Because of the next episode will be the beginning of a new 3-episode arc, and I think that's going to involve more of the building of the rebellion, and I think that's how Saw gets involved. And who knows, we might see more cameos, maybe from Rebels, maybe Hera or something. Who knows. Yeah.
Well, so you're thinking that like after this episode 7 and then 8, then 9, that finishes the 3.
Yeah.
And 10, 11, 12. That's next 3. Because it's going to 12 episodes.
Well, let's see, 7. All right, let's see.
8, 9.
I think 10, it will go 8, 9, 10 will be the 3-episode arc, which is what was
So then what's
pretty
this
much
episode? Because it's 12 episodes, right?
Yeah. So
you would have 1, 2, 3 at the beginning, 4, 5, 6.
I guess you would just kind of count this as
7,
an
8, 9.
aftermath episode. Because the last 2 episodes will end up being like its own like kind of story.
In my opinion, that you'll see it in the end, where I feel like that was the beginning of this new arc that we'll have, prison arc, more, and then we have a finish to the prison arc, and then we have more setup, and then some cliffhanger ending, which is what I'm imagining they'll do. All right, then we get to see that one super agent person. We don't know who she is. She's walking towards in Coruscant, and she goes to see our girl from the heist, the original heist.
She was all dressed up and fancy, which we don't know what she does. We don't know what her cover is, and I'm really curious of what her cover is.
Yeah, so they go to meet, and they're fully they're talking about moving forward with all the plan and all the money. And then she fully just drops Cassian Andor's name instead of it being under Clem, which makes me wonder if I'm trying to figure out who would have told her what his name actually is. That's what I'm really curious about. And figuring out how she would know. Because
Luthen knew everything about him, like everything about him of when they first met, and they still haven't established how he knew all that stuff. So I'm very, very curious on how he knows all that. And then later in the episode, when Cassian talks to his mom, I thought, because of there were a couple of like lines that she said where like maybe she's the one that like, because of she was like, I'm not leaving. I'm getting ahead of ourselves again, but she like talks about how the heist was more than just a heist. It was the start of a rebellion. So I was sitting there watching, and I was like, wait, did she talk to Luthen? And then like, is that how he knows everything? But then the facts point to another direction. So I'm really curious now how Luthen knows everything.
Yeah, I mean, so she even's like, hey, we're gonna send you all the information that we've got. I need you to go find him. That was pretty interesting. And then on the planet, we get to see the Star Destroyer passing above.
Yep.
And then it does cut to Andor coming back to his surrogate mom.
Aunt Petunia.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And we have Trash Can Robot. He comes, he says hi. It's good to see these guys again. And he basically explains like, hey, like I got really lucky. I got some money. We can just leave now. And then he's like, hey, I'll meet you in the morning, and then we'll get out of here. Did you think that we would come back to this planet?
No, I honestly, I didn't think we would come back into like the present timeline of the show, because from the trailers, we saw the flashbacks of the clones and everything. So all right, cool. So we'll see some type of flashbacks on that planet. But I didn't think that we would actually go back in present time. I didn't think we would see his ex again, but we did. Mm-hmm. I didn't think we would see his mom. So it's very. It was cool to go back. We saw stormtroopers also for the first time in the show, so that was really cool. And we actually see more stormtroopers. Like the Empire is having more of a presence now, and the Empire has a very big presence in the show, and like in this episode in particular, and seeing kind of like how of the modern lifestyle of like the normal lifestyle of people, like of the characters in Star Wars, just walking around and then like dealing with the conflict of the Empire, taking over and all that stuff is very, very cool to see, because we always see it from a main character's perspective or a main story of where the rebels are doing something and they are on a mission. We like never just see them, just everyday lives of just being like, oh, blah blah blah. Oh, hey, look, it's a this is normal. Like it's really cool to see different interactions where it's not with huge main characters or huge plot lines. It's just, I mean, and
yeah, I love being able
yeah.
to see how the machine basically works and seeing its effects on all the levels instead of just being good or evil. I like seeing all the different intricate details of what make it evil or good. Yeah, that's been pretty interesting so far. I really liked it. The next thing actually cuts to that the dinner party with Mon Mothma and her friend that she's trying to bring in. Are you enjoying how many times we've been saying Shrangella?
Well, yeah, like I mean, so I heard of that planet before Galaxy's Edge came out and before the Star Cruiser and like all that stuff. But it's so weird to see it just pop up a lot more. Because do you remember when they announced Galaxy's Edge and then you slowly started to hear the word Black Spire, like just in almost every like new kind of project in some way? Because I remember like watching Solo and them talking about it. I was like, oh, okay, that's a cool name drop. And then reading a book and I was like, okay, wait a minute. And then the land and everything. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So,
all right, back it up a little.
Right. So now that we have the Star Cruiser and we know that the Star Cruiser was made on the planet, the Galactic Star Cruiser, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, is of the Halcyon. It's very interesting, and honestly, I could see not the inside of the ship or anything like we saw on the Lego Summer Vacation Special, anything like that. But I could definitely see them like having the ship make a cameo like in the background of maybe like leaving Coruscant or something. I could definitely see it show up.
This is just another time that I don't want that ship there. I would much rather have us just go to Batu. Please.
That's what I want.
Please.
That's honestly what I want. More people will come if like to Galaxy's Edge if they see like even the planet, even them just kind of grazing by Black Spire and just looking like down from it below, like people would be like, all right, cool, I want to go there now. I mean, because as cool as the Halcyon is, again, I've never experienced it, so I don't know. Like, I mean, like I cannot give my personal opinion on it. But I honestly think that that seeing it in the show would be cool. As long as it's not forced of where like it's like small in the background. Well, like a small cameo is fine. But I don't want them like leaving Coruscant or something and it has like that shot from A New Hope of where like you see like the beginning of the ship and it goes all the way under it. Like I don't want something like completely obvious. If it's like a small background, like like the same type of ship of the Millennium Falcon, a Corellian freighter, where it makes a small cameo and Revenge of the Sith. Do you remember that where like it shows the Senate building and then you see like it just kind of coming in and parking? Like a small cameo like that, I would be fine with that. As long as it's nothing crazy.
Maybe as long as it waits its turn,
yeah,
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because if we get Batu in one, I want that thing front and center. I want it popping off. I want everyone to be like, hey, we are going to Batu. All right. Yeah. I'm like, crispy.
I want Mando buying a Ronto wrap and giving it to Grogu. Like, I want it that intense. Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny.
It would be funny.
So they're having a whole like little discussion, and isn't this the person that they want added to she wants to add to the group?
Yeah. because they have ties and that he's also a banker. It would make sense. He's just being introduced. I've never heard of his character before. Um, David actually has a really cool comment here. He was really hoping that Mon Mothma's friend was Chancellor Val Valarum. He was the Chancellor in the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
yeah. That would have been cool.
That would have been really cool.
I think that actor passed away.
But I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, no. I'm hoping that that we get more cameos. It would be really cool if we did get someone from like, for example, I would be surprised if he didn't, but if Bail Organa showed up, that would be like really cool.
I think a lot of people are assuming that he's gonna come and pop up soon
because he showed up in Kenobi. I mean, it's because they weren't filming in the same place. Like, yes, it's gonna be difficult for him to fly somewhere else, but it would just make sense because it's like, you know, that like character is the adoptive father of Leia, and then he also played a big part in the Clone Wars. And him, Padme, and Mon Mothma were very close as well. So it would just make sense that he would show up in the show. I would be surprised if he didn't.
Yeah, and then we have Cassian going to go. Well, it cuts off over to Cassian to go see his ex again. Is her name Bix? Bix? Yeah, Bix. Is that her name? I think it is. Yeah, he goes to go see her. Talks with her. They actually end up seeing each other, and she has like bruises all over her face. This whole place has been completely destroyed comparatively to when he was there because it was already bad. Yeah, they're basically saying, and then she basically says like, "Hey, I wouldn't turn you in, but everyone knows who you are, so it's definitely not safe for you to be here." So, what did you think of this scene?
Something that you and I were talking about, which was funny, is that he didn't offer to have her come. Like he didn't extend his offer to help her leave the planet.
Oh no, man. He's like, yo, you could be with me, bro. And she's like, I'm already taken. And then he was like, oh well.
Yeah.
And then he just dips.
He was also asking more about Luthen, which I have a feeling that Luthen and Andor actually have some type of unknown history that Cassian doesn't know about. Like I have a feeling that that maybe Luthen has something to do with his past. Potentially the reason why his village is gone. Like maybe like Luthen was secretly part of the like of the reason why like most of his people are gone. Because he just knows a lot.
He likes to preserve art now because it's like the most perfect cover and the most perfect way of thinking of it with him being like, hey, like I genuinely just love keeping. I think they talked about it in was it one of the previous episodes where he was like, yeah, it's like a necklace that says stuff on it. And they're like, what does it say? And he's like, well, that's the beauty of it. It's a dead language. Like no one else is alive to be able to speak it. So you can have it be whatever you want. And I think that's pretty cool because he's like, I love collecting all these artifacts and pieces from all this culture and preserving it, whereas the Empire is trying to destroy it. So I think that's pretty cool. Whereas, I definitely think that there's something to do with him that connects him to Cassian in a backstory way. But yeah, when they meet, she basically gives the whole rundown of how bad it has become after he left. So then I think the next scene is going to be the flashback with
With the
our
clones, yeah.
clone troopers, which is pretty cool. Pretty
Uh,
cool.
I didn't know that it snowed on that planet, so seeing snow is pretty cool. Yeah. So we find out that the guy's name is that was with his mom in the flashback in the first 3 episodes. His name was Clem, and now that adds up why Cassian used that as a fake name. And you see Clem trying to stop people from throwing rocks and everything, and he was trying to save him, and in the process the clones turn around. We didn't see them actually shoot him or anything, but we later see him hanged. How do we feel about that? Because this is the second time this year that we have seen someone being hung for their
but I think this is like a little bit different because in Kenobi, you do see him, and he's not hung from his neck or anything like that. You actually see that he's like been strung up. Whereas this, I'm pretty sure, is implied definitely that he was just straight hung there, and/or shot and then hung there. But yeah, it's cool seeing these absolute baby steps of the rebellion, and it's not seeing how the rebellion isn't just. It's a whole bunch of people trying to structure their emotions and anger towards being able to fight, because it's seeing that these baby steps of people literally just sparking a drive within them to fight back. Because it's at its baby steps, it's not going the way it should right now. And there's so many allies around. And I think that's the main reason why she tells Cassian, like, hey, no, I'm going to stay, because if you look all around you, we're all about to, we're actually all rebelling against the, because we're right on the cusp of being able to fight back the Empire. Everyone is becoming more and more passionate about fighting the Empire. So I think that's a very, very, very cool thing to see. Just these very itty bitty baby steps. And I don't know, he's not realizing it yet, but the impact of what he accomplished against the Empire hurt them so badly that it's inspiring people all across the galaxy. And I think that's really, really cool to see. He's not getting it just yet, but I'm assuming later down the line he's going to be like, oh, understandable. Which I wonder if he's going to be able to keep that manifesto in prison. Be able to read it. Considering the next episode that's coming. What do you think about seeing clones in this episode?
Great, because they're live action, and just seeing more like actual live action clones that aren't CGI, like we saw in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, is super, super cool. So I am it was awesome to see that. And then also we didn't get to see the outcome of Cassian picking up that stick, and like he grabs the stick and he's running towards the clones. I'm really curious of what the outcome was. That, like, we know he survives it, so I'm just curious. I mean, because that was the younger version of him before the Clem thing, right? Because that didn't look like Cassian running, like had the stick and running with it. So I figured that was Cassian, or that's someone else and they just showed it, which is weird if that's not Cassian, but that makes sense to me. But
yeah, it's a weird smash cut.
Yeah.
The only reason that I don't know about it is because she says like he was hung in the streets and that's why I walk all the way around.
Yeah.
I don't have to see him.
Yeah. And then do you think we will see his sister ever in the show, or do you think that plot line is just gone? Like, it's just not.
It's Star Wars at this point. I don't know if you'll see it on screen here. However, we have expanded universe to the point where she could randomly pop up in another Star Wars media. I'm not.
And Mandalorian season 3. No. Wow, I'm part of the New Republic. I joined because of my brother, and I found out that he was trying to look for me in a brothel, and now I'm back. Season 3 Mando. Yeah.
Imagine if the girl in the red is his sister.
Ooh, plot twist. That would make sense. That would add so much going on.
I don't think it's her, but I think
but
it could be pretty funny.
But think about it. Think about of like why Luthen would know so much though. That's a good theory. Great job, Josh. Way to go. I didn't think about that. Shoot.
I think it would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Also, David's also saying that the actor that we were talking about is alive. I thought he passed away, but he's alive.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Not yet.
Not yet. But yeah. So no, oh man, no. That's a great theory. That honestly would make a lot of sense. That honestly would make a lot of sense. For Luthen knowing a lot about him, and then maybe his sister like knew where he was, but she didn't want to go and find him. Plot twist! You heard it here first on the Star Stuff podcast, Josh.
I think that would be pretty funny.
Yeah.
If
that ends up being the plot, though, dude, I'm gonna be like, holy crap, bro. But yeah.
We get more exposition by his surrogate mom, and she's saying like, I can't leave basically because of what you did. However, he's still not telling her what he did because as I think I was saying before, he's not basically connected on like, yeah, of course you stole a whole bunch of money. Yeah, of course this was like extremely crazy. But at the end of the day, you were just kind of trying to get out, and he hasn't had that whole motive yet or change of mind that we know that he has in the future, where he ends up being like, I'm actually fighting for the rebellion. This was what I was doing since I was so young. So I think he's gonna flip over soon. I think we're gonna get that in the whole prison arc, which will be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then
do you think he'll break out of prison, or do you think like someone will go and maybe Saw breaks him out of prison, and then Luthen finds out, and then like or like maybe Saw breaks him out, and then Luthen's like trying to get more people to join the rebellion, and then he sees that Cassian is part of his crew. Because if you watch Rogue One, you like see like Cassian standing there, like when he's trying to get Jyn up from and tries to save her from the big explosion that's coming their way, and Saw and Cassian see each other. They like kind of give each other a look, and they're about to fight and something like that, but they end up not. But they like had eye contact where it's like, is there something going on? Do they have history? Like it was just not enough eye contact where you're like, what's going on? Yeah.
And then our next scene is another Imperial office meeting. So it's pretty funny seeing how much they will leverage each other just to get ahead.
It's so cutthroat, man. So I was watching that. I was like, that is so relatable. I bet so many people were watching that, and they're like, that there's that one person at my job that's just like that. Like I guarantee there were so many people like watching that were relating that, because some people at jobs, it's well known that they will try and cut down anyone that is trying to compete to get to the same position, and they'll do anything to do that. And I saw that. I was like, I could definitely see people like just relating to that, because that guy, man, I was so happy that justice came his way, where he lost the jurisdiction of the planet, so now she's in charge of it. And I like how the fact where the main guy and her walk out, and he's like, I would watch your back.
Yep.
They were like, I would be careful. Like, hey, like, well played, but they are going to be on your ass. So just watch it. So, yeah.
All right, and then we get into the the beach scene, starting out with that banging beats. I believe, what's it called, Neamos?
Of the planet, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we get to see like a opening shot of it. It looks like a nice Australian beach. And it's playing some really cool Star Wars music, which we don't get very often.
No, I think the last cool one was probably in the Book of Boba Fett. Of course, it was by Max Rebo. But the other one before that was in Rise of Skywalker.
Is that what
what
you're gonna ask? You're gonna be like, all right, so was this song created by Max Rebo? Any Star Wars beat? All right.
Well, no. Hang on. There's a chance. We have no idea where Max Rebo is in the timeline during that. No, I'm just kidding. But how did you feel about because Cassian really like did exactly what he said. He's like, I'm just gonna escape, and then you see him with the girl. He's got the credits. At first I thought we were gonna see a very a HBO Max type scene because you like see him in the shower and you're like, really? But it shows him just like getting out of the shower and putting on like he's wearing pants and everything. I was like, oh, okay, all right. And then the girl's like, oh, go and grab some food and
yeah, it's cool. It's cool. He's literally just spending his money. He's living his best life currently of what he feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes out to the beach. And then he sees some people running away, and
which we still don't know what was going on with that. Like, like, did they steal something? Did they do something that like that was part of the rebellion, or was it just thugs, that were up to no good, and then Cassian just got caught in the crossfire? I like honestly think it was something random, and he just got in the middle of it, and the Empire. Has been very shown through, Star Wars history. Like they like to make examples out of people, like no matter if they did something good or bad, and if there's no evidence, and clearly there's no lawyers in Star Wars. But yeah, so I thought that was really interesting of like him just minding his own business, and then he walks away, and then that shore troopers just giving him a huge problem.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny having them be stationed on literally a beach. It's like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Did you like all like the little nods and little Easter egg things that were popping up on the beach? Did you see any of them? I saw the little magic band thing. I thought that was pretty funny. Guys wearing like the same one that you can get Galaxy's Edge, and then someone else is playing hollow chess, but it's it's not the actual like hollow version. It's like a live one. I thought that was pretty funny.
Again, you can also get that at Galaxy's Edge.
That's true.
Yep. So just we're getting things that are involved there, just not the planet.
That's true.
Yeah. Which is funny because we actually do see magic bands in the Lego Summer Vacation special on when they go on the cruiser. So it's funny, but yeah. Yep. So that I loved seeing the different species, because I think there was a couple that I saw in this episode that did make an appearance in The Last Jedi on Canto Bight. So it was cool to see those kind of reintroduced, but I really like how we keep getting more planets and different species that we've never seen before, because of the Star Wars universe is so massive. It's large. It's because new canon is coming in with like every single new book, new game, there's so much room for expansion, and the star map of Star Wars is expanding so much, and planets are being invented. So I love seeing new species and creatures, and
yeah, it's great.
Yeah. But seeing shore troopers again made me happy.
It's like beach police. I thought it was so funny. I was like,
this is the third time that we've seen them in live action, because first Rogue One, second the Book of Boba Fett, and now this. So very, very cool. I didn't think that we would end up seeing a security droid so quick. And I know there are people that are like, it's K2. And I'm like, that's That's way too early. And also Alan Tudyk said that he wasn't going to be in this, but who knows? Sometimes Star Wars actors lie.
I mean, I don't think he'll be in this season.
No,
yeah, next
he will
season.
definitely
Why
be in
not?
the no, and the next season he will be, but he's been saying he wasn't in this season, and that makes sense. But next season it makes sense because the show goes directly into Rogue One, so we will definitely see like the origin story of K2 and Cassian meeting. I would be very blown away if they were just like, oh, here they go, they just met. I would be surprised by that. But yeah, so we see him get harassed, and because of the shore trooper tells him to wait, and the droid misheard him, and then he almost kills Cassian. He's like choking him.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
Yep. And then you see
He
them
basically
go
just says, "Hang on to this one for me." Immediately chokes him.
Yep. And then they end up going to like the Imperial version of like court, and they're like, oh, did this 6 months, this 10 years, and then he's like, well, this like used to be, you know, a 6-month sentence, but we just changed it to 6 years, and they don't explain why. And they're like, all right.
I thought it was just because in their last scene of like the Imperial meeting, because they're like, everything, all new crimes, all crimes and people actually in the system need to be reevaluated. That's what I thought it was.
Yep. So that
Keith.
Yep. So that happens. Cassian is blown away. He's shocked. He's like, what the heck? I was just going for a walk, and now I'm going to prison for 6 years. What's going on? And then we go back to Coruscant, and we see Cyril in his small cubicle doing office work, and then it zooms out on the entire, like, you know, of him just being a ordinary galactic office worker, and then it's the end of the episode. I like the episode. It did show more like a normal lifestyle of some of the characters, which again we've never really seen in live action Star Wars, so that was pretty cool to see. I was very excited to see Admiral Yularen again.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'm excited to see where the rest of the plot goes, because seeing Saw Gerrera is going to be very exciting. I'm very excited to see him come in. I'm really excited to see how Luthen knows everything, because he just seems like he knows everything. And maybe we might get a flashback episode of maybe him in the Clone Wars, of like a younger version of him, because he just seems like he is the guy that like he has incredible resources. He knows a lot of things. I'm really curious of what sparked him to like get into this like into
is it
this.
Interesting to you that the episode ends with the one guy in his cubicle searching through data?
Yeah,
I think he's going to become a big player in the Rebel Alliance, because I feel like he's being dumbed down by everyone around him. Also, I just feel like he's going to have a snap moment where he's like, because he just lost his.
Yeah.
He was someone who really respected individuality. That's why he tailored his own suit. That's why he looked so good. He wanted to be like the one that people look at. And now he has been reduced to literally just another person in a cubicle.
Yeah.
And you see him like look at the camera basically as it pans out, and you see how many workers are actually working in there. And I'm like, I feel like he's trying really desperately hard to be able to gain his individuality back.
And I think he'll do that by actually doing something where it's the Empire's favor, and then it becomes he becomes an officer somehow in the Empire, and then he kind of pulls Agent Callus from which that also would be a great cameo. I would love to see Agent Callus from Star Wars Rebels show up in Andor. That would be really, really cool to see. But I think of seeing him kind of doing something very similar to what Callus's journey was, of where he sees the kindness and the difference than what the Empire has, is claiming that the Rebel Alliance is. And maybe he ends up actually running into Cassian in the second season, and he actually sees him as not super kind, of the characters and Rebels are, but like to that point where he's like, okay, maybe you're not as bad as I thought you were. Am I on the wrong side? And it makes him question, because I think he is thinking right now, I don't think he's mad at the Empire. I think he's more mad at the job that he was at, and now that he's back to a normal office style life, and I think he wants to still have that urge to be something big, and I think that the Empire in his eyes is that way. But when he joins the Empire, I think then something will happen, and then he will join the rebellion. I don't think he'll just join the rebellion. Yeah.
All right. Well, so what are your thoughts on the episode moving forward? What are your big things that you think we'll get from the next episode?
So for the next episode, I'm hoping
I really want to see the Imperial justice system. I want to see how that works.
I would like to see him in. I want to know if we'll end up maybe seeing, because I'm just trying to think, because we have seen different prisons in Star Wars and different type jail situations, because we saw that in Mando. We definitely saw that a decent amount in the Clone Wars. And if there ends up being a breakout, I'm really curious of where he's going to go. Do you think Cassian will end up being put into a prison at Coruscant? Do you think it will be a different place?
I would love to see that. Yeah. Them all being on the same planet sounds really cool, but it's all the different stages of the planet. Sounds awesome.
Right. And I think if there ends up being a breakout, that it would be really hard for Saw to go there, because at this point, Saw is very well known by the Empire. He is on the radar. So I'm really, really curious to see where they'll go. Most likely it will be a random planet we never heard before, and that's totally fine. But I think that he'll be in prison. He'll be doing, he'll be doing his time, and then all of a sudden the breakout happens. He gets out, and I think we'll see more of Luthen. And there will be a time jump. Is what they've been saying. So I'm really curious to see of what the playing field is going to be going forward, and I'm really curious of what the finale is going to lead into. Will it be something with the Death Star? Will we end up seeing Dr. Krennic at the end of it with and maybe possibly Moff Gideon, some type of Mandalorian tie-in like that, but it wouldn't be like Din Djarin showing up, but it would be more of something with the Empire that would be able to tie into Mando later. I could definitely see them doing that. I'm showing a young Moff Gideon.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I'd like that.
Yeah.
And then give some in other news. We had other news.
Yes. Next week, October 26th. I'm very, very excited. We have Tales of the Jedi finally coming out. I'm super pumped about this.
Are they dropping all the episodes at once?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
And not just that, but they also dropped the episode titles. And it's very interesting because there's a couple of titles where you'll be able to kind of tell what's going to happen. So for again, possible spoilers for Tales of the Jedi, the first 3 episodes of Tales of the Jedi are Life and Death, Practice Makes Perfect, and Coda. And then the last 3 episodes is Justice, Chaos. It's Justice, Choices, and then the last episode is called The Sith Lord. And I think that last episode is where we'll see Dooku turn from Jedi to Sith. And in the trailer, you see him fight Yaddle, so we might find out exactly what Yaddle's fate is.
Death.
And canon, yeah.
Finally.
Okay.
in canon. In canon
Yeah.
form. Because
Yeah.
she's been killed so many times in EU. So
And not just her, but also Shakti. So because of her, oh my gosh, her like path was just all over the place. And then we also know the run times. So for episode 1, it's 17 minutes. Episode 2 is 14 minutes. Episode 3 is 13 minutes. Episode 4 is 15. Episode 5 is 10. And then episode 6 is 14 minutes. So it is not like, those Clone Wars length episodes or anything. They are kind of sticking because Dave Filoni was saying that these are more shorts than it was more of like, a full out TV show. And these
we know these characters. We just want to hear like a more of an origin story. So we don't need to give like a giant story introducing these characters. We just get to tell their come up and their backstory, which is something I like.
Yep, and something that I'm so excited because we are getting Liam Neeson's coming back. Ashley Eckstein's coming back. The actor who has played Count Dooku, Mace Windu, the pretty much all the main players from like of the main voice actors who were in Clone Wars are coming back. Arnold James Taylor, Matt Lanter, like all these actors are coming in and just voicing these characters again. And I've been saying for a long time I wanted more stories from the Clone Wars, and the fact that's happening in very similar animation and that Dave Filoni is part of this, it's going to be good. And the fact that we're finally getting a real origin story of Count Dooku is awesome. So I'm super thrilled for this, and I'm glad that I'm
excited to do a breakdown.
Yeah. Yep.
Because we can watch basically all of them in one day.
Yeah. I'm probably going to wake up early that morning, watch that, and then also watch the new episode of Andor as well. Dang, there's a lot going on that day.
It'd be packed Star Wars. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, that's. So after that, after Andor's done, in November, that's it really for Star Wars this year.
Pretty good to close out on this. That's why I'm excited. It was good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. This honestly has been a big year for Star Wars. I think next year is going to be even larger because we're getting, again, we're getting Mandalorian season 3. We're getting Ahsoka. We're getting Jedi Survivor. We're getting the Skeleton Crew, which that's big because that is the second highest budget for a show that's ever been made for a non-movie.
I'm excited to see more of it, which means that we're going to get some. I think we're going to drop. They're already going to drop something around December. I feel like we're going to get something because we usually get some Christmas trailer of something that comes out that's very interesting that people want to see.
Right, so I'm excited because I would be surprised if they waited to. I mean, I could see them definitely doing it, like of holding the footage until Star Wars Celebration. But first thing next year, January 4th, we're getting the Bad Batch. So we will be almost a month without Star Wars, because in December there's really nothing going on, and I believe Andor ends on November 23rd. So we are going into which is really exciting because we are getting Star Wars pretty much for the rest of the year, except that 1 month where kind of Star Wars is taking a break. But there's so much coming out next year, guys, and it's really, really exciting. What project, and I'm gonna, and this might change your answer, but what project besides Jedi Survivor are you most excited about?
Skeleton Crew, but I feel like I really need to see more of what they're going to push for that, because I want to see where the budget's going, and I feel like you could do a lot and really blow away a lot of people with that. So
yeah,
I'm really, really wanting to see what they got in store for us. I'm excited.
I mean, as long as Mando and Grogu don't get their own episode like they did in the book of Boba Fett, of where Boba has to end up making a 30-second cameo in his own show. As long as something like that doesn't happen, I'll be fine. Like,
understandable.
I'll be excited. Don't get me wrong. I will definitely be excited, but it'll be like, really? Like, did we really deserve this? Because the entire I felt guilty watching those episodes with Mando in the Book of Boba Fett because I was like, this is not his story. Like I was really hoping that we would, as great as it was to kind of get the answer of what happened with Grogu and Luke after season 2 of Mando, I was really hoping that we would get a training episode of Boba learning how to ride the Rancor and just kind of, get more of Boba's story because, he's such a he was such a mysterious character. So why not dive deeper into, him being younger and maybe do, a flashback episode of where young Boba is going, with Jango on a mission or something, like introduce something like that. But they just dived straight into Luke, Grogu, all that stuff, more plot building for season 3.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, but it's Boba's story. But yeah, so I am excited for more Star Wars next year. Are you excited for the Bad Batch?
Yes and no. I love more new Star Wars stuff. Always love new Star Wars stuff. I want to see where they're gonna go with it, but I love seeing the characters again. I'd love for them to even take even more of a serious take on this side, but I completely understand which lane it's in. So I'm enjoying it so far. We got some questions that still haven't been answered, so I'm excited to see where they go.
Yeah.
More Star Wars is always good. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, that really marks everything for this week. Hopefully we see, Thrawn sometime soon in the show. I would love to see Sly more at some point. It would be really cool to have Emperor cameo as well. There's a lot of stuff that can still happen in the show, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. But we're on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We're on Patreon. We have a lot of content on there. Please go check out our Patreon. We're on Facebook. It's called the Star Wars Stuff Group and Star Wars Stuff Podcast page. We're on Twitter at Stuff Pod. TikTok, just search Star Wars Stuff. And we have an email, Star Wars Stuff Podcast gmail.com. And we are also on Twitch, SW Stuff 77. And then we also have our own website where it has everyone on our podcast. It has their bio and everything. It has all of our links to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. We're on there. Also, go on Apple Podcast and give us a review. We love hearing your guys' feedback, even if it's all about David. That's fine. It's okay. We love you all. Thank you for everyone that is part of our Patreon. Thank you for everyone that's part of our community. We love doing this. Again, we love hearing your feedback. We love improving ourselves to be better podcasters. So again, we love hearing from you guys. So please write to us. We love hearing from you. There are more surprises on the way from us and more different giveaways. So just stay tuned for that. From Josh and I, we love you all. May the Force be with you.
Always.
Da, 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 da.